Good evening, snooker fans. This is episode 26 of the 15 Red podcast on March the 14th, 2021. And tonight, joining me from Northern Ireland is Scott once again. Good evening, Scott.
Very good evening to you, Mike, in Vancouver in Canada. How are you? This morning, I should say.
Yeah, doing very well. Getting ready for another action-packed episode today.
Indeed.
So,
we should explain that it's Mothering Sunday in the United Kingdom, so that's why Graham is not with us.
That is correct. Yes, I was just going to say that, but yes, thank you for pointing that out. And also the time in North America, the clocks came forward 1 hour where it did not there. So there was a little bit of a mishap on time, but that's all good as well.
Indeed.
So you're going to get us started with the Pro Series and Group E's underway.
Yes, indeed. We have, I've explained the Pro Series format in the episode that I did last night, but Group E, as you say, is underway. The top two will qualify from it, and those top two at the moment, with the 8 o'clock matches still to play, of course, Sohail Vahidi of Iran is top, and Mark Selby is in second place. Followed by Stuart Carrington, Lucas Clackers, Matthew Self, Ethan Sharav, Joe Connor, and Daniel Wormesley.
Excellent. Excellent.
So that's the standing of things as it stands.
Excellent. I saw yesterday also Mark Williams is officially qualified for the World Championships out of Group.
Indeed.
So yeah, that's good. He should be there. Shouldn't have to go through qualifying, which is a big relief for him, I would imagine.
Indeed, that will be, because of course, on the 40th anniversary year, you remember in 2017 they did the big 40th anniversary party the day before, and Mark Williams was the only former champion, living former champion, not there because he hadn't qualified that year.
Oh, jeez, wow. That's something. Well, he doesn't have to worry about it this time around, at least.
No. And of course, then the next year he came back and won it. But as you say, he doesn't have to worry about that this time, so he's all good.
And speaking of that, we were 34 days away from Sheffield. Any thoughts on that?
Well, we really are getting close now, aren't we? I mean,
yeah. So was thinking once we reach March the 17th, which I believe is Wednesday, we'll do a 30 in 30. So the 30 most relevant or irrelevant matches from the World Championships from the 30th down to rank number 1.
Yeah.
We'll talk about one each day, and we'll also post it on our page, on our 15 Red podcast page.
Yeah. So our listeners will see that from St. Patrick's Day on.
Exactly. So also want to quickly point out this week our guests are going to include Dave Hendon on Tuesday.
Yes.
And also we've got a journalist, a sports journalist, and an author. Marcus Steed is going to join us to talk all the snooker as well. So got some media coverage this week.
Yes, provided the technology holds up and.
Oh, I'm sure it will. I have no.
Yes, of course it will.
So yeah, that's what's going to be happening on this week and on our page also over the week, in which you can also find our podcasts.
Yes, indeed. And by the way, Mike, just as you go over a few general things, I just wanted to give the answers to the trivia questions I posed last night.
Please do, yeah.
So the first question I asked, if you remember, was in which year did Mark Williams, seems to be coming back to Mark Williams a lot tonight, but in which year did Mark Williams make his Crucible debut? And the answer? You got it?
Who was it? What year was it?
1997.
Very good.
was the answer to that. So if you said 1997, you're a point up, as it were. Then I asked, the second one was, how many Crucible finals have gone the full 35 frames?
I can definitely think of 3, but I'm sure there's more.
No, 3 is correct.
Oh, okay. Well, then Peter Ebdon and Hendry in 2002.
Correct.
Dennis Taylor and Steve Davis, obviously, in 85.
Correct.
And was it Ken Doherty and Stephen Hendry?
No, Hendry and White's last final in 94.
Very good. Correct.
So it was the last one.
Yeah.
If I just go in, because I've written my answers down here, so I'll get the Word document up if you just bear with me. You carry on talking for a moment, Mike, and I'll get these answers up.
So today is also the 1-month anniversary of our podcast, our first broadcast. So, I mean, I know Scott's busy, but I'd be curious to hear from the people that have been tuning in on a regular basis, their thoughts and comments. I mean, if we could get some feedback, that would be much appreciated. I think it would help us.
I think.
Sorry, it'd help us.
I think we've done.
Did you get your answers there, Scott?
Yes, I've got them here now.
Okay, go on then.
Official, we've got 1997.
Yeah, correct.
Was the Mark Williams answer?
3 was
3 was the Crucible Finals answer.
Yep.
Question 3. In what year did Alex Higgins make his last Crucible appearance?
His last Crucible appearance? Oh boy, 1998?
1994.
Okay.
He lost 10-5 to Doherty.
Okay.
In the opening round. Question 4. In 1996, Mark Williams won the Welsh Open for his first ranking title, but who did he beat in the final?
Oh boy, that's a tough one. Enlighten the guests.
JP.
John Parrott. Oh, okay.
Correct. 9-3 it was.
Okay.
Question 5. In which year did Stuart Bingham miss the pink for a Crucible Maximum?
Which year did Stuart Bingham win? I'm not sure.
2000. 2002 is the answer to that.
Okay. So we're good?
And then question 6, final question. How many different Scottish players have appeared in Crucible finals?
How many? So we had Hendry, we had Higgins.
One more.
One more. Scottish player.
His surname begins with a D.
I'm not sure. You'd have to enlighten everyone. That's a tough one.
Graham Dott.
Very
So
good.
the answer to that, 3.
Very good. So there you go, everybody. That's the answer to Scott's questions from last night, which pretty good questions there, Scott.
Thank you, Mike.
So we've had our first 3 guests, and it's time for a little reflection and some conversation.
Yes,
so,
indeed.
So we had Gareth Allen and we had Jamie Curtis Barrett on, who are players, and we had Chris, who's a very high level coach.
Yeah.
Now I know we kicked around before we had these guests on. We had a conversation between you, Graham, and myself about the lower ranks. And after listening to Gareth and Jamie, it seems like there's a massive imbalance from like the top end to the bottom end.
Yes.
Do you think it's time that we actually restructured the whole thing to make it a little bit more balanced for the guys that are trying to get into the game?
Well, let me preface, before I answer your question, let me preface that nothing that we say is going to change anything, so we're not in danger of getting anybody into trouble or anything by what we say on here. So, having said that, I do think something needs to be done about the distribution of prize money.
Yep.
As the primary concern, because obviously Judd Trump has won 5 tournaments, so obviously he's got the most money.
Correct.
But at the same time, there is a massive disparity in the amount of money, not only that it takes to, not only that you get for winning in the early rounds, but if you do get £1,000, you're putting that towards your, in previous times, you're putting that towards your flight, your hotel, your food, your travel, etc. So there is quite a big disparity, and as you put it to Gareth Allen, or maybe put it to us after the Gareth Allen interview, it's like an expensive hobby for those fellas at the bottom end rather than a full-time job.
Exactly. It's exactly, that's all it is. And I have to say that, and you could tell in both of their voices. One, Gareth had retired at the age of 32. Now, I'm sure if there was a way, at least from a monetary standpoint and from an opportunity standpoint, that at 32, if you retire, does that not mean that there's something wrong with the system? Like most players aren't even, they're just coming into their prime in their early 30s.
I mean, Judd Trump's in his early 30s, and look at him.
Yeah. Now, I will point out that Jamie Curtis Barrett did say about practicing, and the difference between the top and the bottom is consistency in potting week to week, like consistency in potting and playing and all that.
Yeah, potting and striking the cue ball and so on.
It is, but when you've got matches when your livelihoods are, you don't know if you're going to make anything, and you're not going to, how you're going to pay your bills and all that. That makes for a big disadvantage. So
of course it does. Of course.
I absolutely think, we're just a podcast. We just express views, and we listen to things, and we hear things. That's all we do. But I think there must be a concerted effort to restructure it, to make it more attractive for people of any country, whatever. It needs to be more attractive from the bottom up. No job I know of, and I believe it was Gareth that said, you're paying to go to work, Scott. That's absurd. You can't pay to go to work.
You get paid for working, but you don't get paid to go.
But that's what was said. I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, Gareth Allen had pointed out that you're paying to go to work.
Yeah.
And I thought, man, that really sounds off. So, I think Jamie said it best when he said maybe have 2 divisions and Q School, and then you have the division, the top 32, and then another division, and obviously the top 32, you have it much heavier weighted for money, and the second division less, for sure. I think that sounds very reasonable. And then you get demoted accordingly, and Q School is the way into the divisions.
Yeah.
So I think, and I believe that would make a lot of sense. But I mean, the future of the game, the way it is, I mean, how can it survive the long term of that?
No.
Makes sense.
No, let me say this, by the way. in defence of Barry Hearn, because Barry Hearn has done a tremendous job,
Yeah.
I have to say, because at one stage we were down to 6 ranking events
Yep.
a year. So so we're not complaining that there are more tournaments, and we appreciate that. But I do agree with you that there needs to be something done to maybe end the top heavy nature of the prize money structure. But
Yep.
yes, maybe the 2-tier tour, sort of 64 man per tour, that makes sense. We'll just have to wait and see.
I believe that's what was kind of presented, and I think it absolutely makes sense. If you want to keep people playing in the game, if you want to keep the game healthy and flourishing, just come up with some type of restructuring. Like,
because the game at the
going to happen, it's not going to survive.
No, because the game at the very, very, very top is as healthy as it's ever been.
Oh, absolutely. The field as a whole is very strong.
Yeah.
The problem is that the guys at the middle and lower ends of the spectrum, and people with circumstances, like Jamie has, like, certain circumstances and commitments he's got, and
Yeah.
and it doesn't help him, and it's not really fair in a sense. He's done very well with what he's done.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I think it needs to definitely take a new look for sure.
So, but again, we wait and see what's.
Well, the good thing about talking about these things, not just here, but just in an open forum.
Yeah.
Maybe they hear this, and maybe they could consider it. Or if they consider it, then we've already done something productive. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So.
Oh, I forgot, before we move on, I forgot to mention that, of course, the World Snooker Tour have announced, in conjunction with Her Majesty's government, that the World Championship is to be used as a pilot event to let crowds back into sporting venues.
Yeah, I saw that. That was this morning. I think they announced that.
Yes.
Well, I mean, that's good news. Crowds slowly coming back in, signs of normality. So.
Indeed. Now, to be fair, it did happen last year, but the numbers were going up at the time. The numbers are now coming down. So.
Also, yeah, there's vaccines available now where there wasn't last year. So.
Yes, of course.
That they've got these good that the moving forward parts happening now.
Yes, and look, we could be critical of governments every day of the week, but at least the government are actually trying to work to get it going properly.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. So, and with that said, I know Chris Henry made a point of saying that this season with no crowds, that the gap between the top and the bottom was much more compressed, and that the ranked players this season had better seasons. Do you agree with that?
Well, yes. Not obviously, bar Jordan Brown, top players have been winning everything. But in terms of like lower ranked players getting further in tournaments, I certainly agree the lower ranked players have had a better season. And I know we've discussed this point before, but do you not think this has been one of the best seasons for watching snooker that we've ever had?
Yeah, from a standard perspective, yes, I do, but
yeah.
I don't. But I think the effects of a crowd and the sound of a crowd, you can really notice the difference. But the quality is there. I would agree with that.
Yeah, we miss the crowd, of course we do. Yeah. But I think once you actually get into the snooker, you sort of do forget there's no crowd, and you just sort of concentrate actually on the table.
Well, that's Jamie made that. He said that himself. He said once he got on the floor, he found a way of just to tune them out. Remember, he said that he just tuned them out and tried to get as comfortable as possible.
Yeah.
Like he was playing in one of the cubicles. So So yeah, interesting stuff. But we definitely look forward to A, crowds coming back, and B, the standard remaining high even when crowds do come back.
Yeah.
So also another comment, and I know you take a personal point of this. Chris Henry made a point of saying that Stephen Hendry was the greatest player he had ever seen. Are you surprised by that?
No. I mean, I know, like, more or less everybody, and, you know, I am in this camp that, you know, think Ronnie's the greatest of all time. Like, you know, there's not much to debate. But again, the point I keep making is not necessarily that Hendry's the greatest of all time.
No.
But more, I think there's a generation of fans growing up that do not know how good Stephen Hendry was as a snooker player.
Yeah, I
Like,
agree with you on that.
like he was a complete monster on a snooker table.
Yeah, his skill sets are very, very unique compared to any other player that's played it. When you look back through the history of the game, he was just absolutely devastating through the 90s. Like, take a look at some of his records, and a couple of, in fact, that are just unbreakable, I would say.
Well, I'll take you through them now. I mean, how do you win 5 world titles in a row, 29 consecutive Crucible matches, and like you become world champion at 21 years of age?
Yeah, those are just unbelievable. So, I think those won't be touched. The only record, and I know we spoke off air, is of those the consecutive titles and the 29 matches. The only record that which he currently holds that it may or may not last long, is the 16 centuries in one tournament, which was the 2002 World Championships.
Which he didn't even win, of course.
No, he lost. That's what I'm saying. But 16 centuries even to that. So
I know.
But yeah, no, he was an absolute, just an animal on the set. Ruthless winner, I like to call him. He's just.
I know. And I know we've sort of discussed it, but let's go on a bit of a trip down memory lane about Stephen. And what do you think? What do you think? Like, yes, there's the rivalry with Jimmy White, but I actually think his best match at the World Championship, take that 2002 one, for instance, was that one I mentioned on the episode last night between him and Doherty.
Yeah, I agree with you. I remember him and Doherty battling it out. I agree with you on that.
I mean, that 2002 match is so underrated. Yep. But I put it, like, I don't want to, like, over exaggerate, but no. You know, in terms of best of 25 frame matches, you know, that have been played at Sheffield, and bear in mind this is now the 44th staging of the World Championship we're going at Sheffield.
Yeah.
So there's history behind it. Mm-hmm. I think that has to go down as one of the best quarterfinals we've ever seen.
Yeah, I can't dispute that.
I mean, 6 centuries, and it goes the full 25 frames. It was tremendous.
Yep. Yeah, that's one of the, as you call it, the great unforgotten match.
Yeah.
That was very good. So,
yeah.
So yeah, no, that I found hearing that from Chris when he said that he was the best player he'd ever seen.
Well, what do you think about Stephen then? What sort of year? I know you think Ronnie's the greatest of all time, and nobody would dispute you there. But what do you think about Stephen? What are your sort of general views on Stephen?
I mean, I could make the case. Hendry was that good that you could still make an argument for Stephen Hendry actually being number one. You could, I could do it. I could do it. I won't do it because I love Ronnie O'Sullivan first and foremost. But if anyone was to sit down and take task and say, oh, say Chris Henry, as he says, I can totally understand and accept even that Henry was, at least for a decade. See, this is the difference between Ronnie and Henry. Henry did it in the 90s. He did it in a decade. He just dominated. He won everything. Where Ronnie has done it with longevity, where he won in the 90s, he's won in the 2000s. He's done it over 4 decades.
Yeah.
2000, 2010, and currently in the 20s. So he's done it a different way. But that doesn't mean to say that Stephen Henry can't still be considered the best of all time. So,
but
position on that.
Do you think if Ronnie was to win the world title this year, would that definitively end it? Do you think? I know in your own mind it has been ended, but do you think the wider debate would stop if Ronnie was to win the worlds again?
I mean, I think popular opinion would say Ronnie's already the greatest of all time. But I mean, there's another difference, that Henry did it with fewer ranking events open to him to play in.
Yeah.
It's like a tournament every week, like 3 ranking events a month type of thing. And they're doing it 9 months a year. So the setup is different now. When Henry did it, it was much less, and he dominated. So
I know.
But yeah, I think Henry he's a great player. Yeah, but I think he's a solid number 2.
Yeah, of course.
So on that, I just want to reflect on also the fact that the guests we had this week, they've been so open and so honest and so appreciative of being able to speak, it seems like.
Yeah, well, particularly Gareth and Jamie.
Yes.
Obviously, Chris has done features on the BBC. People knew about Chris before.
Yeah.
Like that, it's not that Chris Henry's not been seen before.
Yes.
So, but particularly Gareth and Jamie, I think we're very grateful that someone was willing to give them a platform to speak, if you like.
Yeah, absolutely. And it worked well for everyone, actually. It was great content. It's created good content.
I've got a fellow Mark Allen fan in my corner.
You had that? Sorry?
I've got a fellow Mark Allen fan in my corner, so
he's but it was good. It was good that we had these guys on, and we can learn about the grassroots, what the state of the lower ranks and the grassroots is. Yeah, that's where that is at. So also another changing the topic here. Today is the month anniversary of us broadcasting. Your thoughts?
Yeah. Yes, well, you mentioned that while I was waiting to get my trivia answered, but I think we've done remarkably well. We've done absolutely superbly well. And I think we're just going to go from strength to strength. I mean, you look at the guests we got on Tuesday.
Yep.
I mean, bar Clive Everton, we got the lead commentator on the game of snooker at the moment.
Yep, correct. Absolutely right. And when you think about where we started and where we are now, it is, like you say, each episode seems to present different challenges and stuff, but we're getting better and better, and we're getting more known. We're on YouTube, we're on SoundCloud, we're on Facebook Live. Our videos or our episodes can be archived. We can be found.
Yeah, well, I should explain, by the way, that our episode on Tuesday with Dave, because Dave's not on Facebook, it will be done on Zoom. I'll record it, and then it'll be posted later on.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's good information. So it should be around 11 o'clock or 7 p.m. for you guys. Because
obviously Dave's not on Facebook, so we can't do it like live, as it were. But we'll have it up probably within an hour or an hour and a half after we do it.
Yep, that sounds excellent. So yeah.
And then, of course, we got Marcus Stead on Thursday. So
yeah, he's a freelance journalist and an author. So he would also be a very interesting conversation.
Indeed, and of course, he is the snooker guru, if you like, for one of our leading commercial radio stations in this country, Talk Sport, which is a sports-only radio station that broadcasts everything: football, rugby, cricket, snooker, anything.
Yeah, they're very good. So he'll be an interesting person to get some insight from.
Indeed, yes.
From a media standpoint, anyway.
Indeed. But I am looking forward to Dave Hendon, though.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a different type of interview where we've done a little more like player and coach stuff. This is more media driven, so we're going to be the interview will be a lot more current event.
Yeah. And then I believe you've got, so we're going to now move on to discuss, in light of the Chris Henry interview, we're going to discuss the relationship between players and coaches or companions on the circuit.
Yeah, that was kind of where I was leading the topic question. Was it seems like after listening to Chris Henry and also looking at current players, it seems like the coach or a companion is an important piece to success. Would you concur?
Well, 2 words: Jack Trump.
Yep. Yeah, he hangs out with his Kyron Wilson. Also, I believe, has his brother working with him.
Yeah. And bear in mind, those 2 boys that we've just mentioned, Kyron's brother Taylor and Jack, they've quit their jobs to go around the world, traveling with the 2 of them. So it's not just, I'll come here in the UK. They've actually quit their jobs and committed to doing it full time. And I think, well, the stats prove that it's done Judd the world of good, because you need somebody to give you that kick up the backside.
Absolutely, yeah. That's
what for want of a more elegant expression. I mean, you look at Ronnie with Dr. Steve Peters or Damien Hirst. They've managed to calm Ronnie down over the years and stop him from doing a Stephen Hendry in 2006 when he walked out.
Yeah. Also,
when Ronnie walked out, of course.
Also, Chris Henry himself kind of at a fair length was going on about the mental side of the game and having coaching and having a sidekick help you along the road.
I'm going to go quite niche here and quote Clive Everton.
Okay.
It was in commentary on a match in the Masters in 2003. Hendry was playing Ken Doherty in the first round, and he was making a 1-4 break, and Hendry was getting the rest out, and therefore there was a break in play. And Clive Everton said that Stephen's relationship with Terry Griffiths, who he was playing with at the time, who was coaching him at the time, was very good for him because it was keeping him happy between matches. And that particularly at the World Championship, Mike, is the thing that's really important. We can discuss this with Dave on Tuesday if we get the opportunity. Keeping players happy between matches is as important, because when you're out playing snooker on the table, I don't want to say you're just playing snooker. That makes it sound trivial, but you know what I mean. You know what you have to do.
Yes.
Whereas, particularly at Sheffield, if you're sitting around for, take Ronnie for instance, his first round match begins and ends on the opening day.
Oh, does it?
You know, yeah, because the defending champion starts at the 10 o'clock session and finishes at the 7 o'clock at night session. So basically, he has to wait around the venue for a week and wait for the rest of the first round matches to finish before he can start playing again.
Correct. Yep.
So he's got to be kept happy between matches and between playing.
Yeah.
And that's what the coach or the companion can do.
Absolutely. And if you look at the history, and I know Chris kind of referenced some of the players that he had coached, they all had very strong pedigree. Jimmy White. He mentioned Hendry in an indirect way. It was one of his friends coaching Stephen Hendry. He was kind of in the background with him.
Yeah.
Mark Selby, of course. All these guys are pedigreed players. You know, they don't have people traveling with them per se, but he has this coach in the background helping him, working with him, working on the mental side of the game. And like you say, you need to be kept happy off the table just as much as you are on.
Particularly at Sheffield, because you literally can't play snooker every day for 17 days.
No, of course not. That would be too hard a mountain to climb, I would say.
Indeed.
But any job, any career, you can't do too much of it. You have to have a work-life balance.
Well, Stephen Hendry always makes the point. Do the first round or two at Sheffield, you get the result. You know what I mean? The first round or two is the result. You can play better in the second week. I mean, there's no point in you winning, say, 10-0 in the first round and then go out and get beat 13-12 in the second round because you're tired out.
Yeah, no, it's true. That's very true. Very much so. Yeah, so that interesting conversations all the way around from the
very much guys. So.
Have you got any other final thoughts before we wrap it up?
I'll just say that, as I say, hopefully we'll get the conversation with Dave Hinton recorded and up as soon as possible, and I'm in charge of recording it, so if anything goes wrong, you can blame me. But
nah, we won't do that. We're all on it. So, but it'll sure of that. I'm looking forward to it.
Yes, we look forward to it, and hopefully I'll see you then, Mike.
You will. Okay, so yeah, this will put a lid on episode 26.
Yes.
Signing off. This is Scott in Northern Ireland, and this is Mike in Vancouver, and we will see you on Tuesday with Dave Hendon.
Yes.
Have a good night.
Right, see you then, God willing.
We will. Have a good night, Scott. See you later.
Will do.
Good night.